Stand by to initiate release sequencer. On my mark. 5.
We're on express elevator to hell. Going down.
2. 1. Mark.
Hello, everyone. My name is Mark, a.k.a. Derringer. Today is Sunday, May 12th, and you're listening to episode 208 of the Instant Action Podcast, your weekly source for Planetside news and information. As always, I'm brought to you by great listeners like you via the Support the Show tab on instantactionpodcast.com. So first off, I want to wish a happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. There's some really good ones in this community that we need to thank, like Gelos and Bax and Joke and RoboCPF1 and Goder and even Shades and B-Way and other people like Walmart Greeter on VCO, Captain Cox on 1TR. You know, mothers like you in the game are the reason that people keep coming back and playing more. So happy Mother's Day to you guys. Other than that, what's been going on this week? Well, really the biggest news, obviously you guys heard, I injured myself pretty stupidly. I'm feeling better. Physical therapy is a godsend, and I was finally able to walk downstairs at some point last week and get back to my main PC and back to my recording studio. So this week's show should sound a little bit better than last week's. And again, I apologize, but I was working with what I was working with. Other than that, I found myself playing quite a bit of Planetside 2 Friday of all days. I had the day off. I had to go up to New Hampshire to my daughter's college to pack up half her stuff and bring it home. She's done with finals Wednesday when I'll be heading back to pick her up and bring her home for the summer. But other than that, as I said a couple weeks ago, Aeflic was going for his 200,000th kill in-game with the Anchor. And he was really close as of that Friday. I think he had 100 more kills to go. And so I logged in and played the entire time with him and was there when he got his 200,000th kill. I recorded it because I was playing at the same time, having a decent session. So I've just got to say congrats again to you, Aeflic. 200,000 kills with a single weapon is absolute insanity, if you ask me. But couldn't be a nicer guy to do something like that. And if you didn't follow his live stream while he did it, he gave away a bunch of codes for Daybreak Cash in-game. A lot of people got those and were able to use those. And overall, it was just a really good vibe and a good atmosphere. And it was nice to see a lot of people out there cheering him on as he was working out those last 100 or so kills. And even he said he got to them a lot faster than he expected. And part of me thinks it's because of the DirectX 11 update that a lot of people are coming back to the game and a lot of new players are getting into the game. Granted, he was probably feeding on a lot of those newer players to get to those 200,000 kills, but still, 200,000 is quite the milestone. And I hope the devs kind of zero in on that and maybe throw something his way, something cool for the Anchor, for somebody getting into the game and doing something like that. And if anything, it's a real, sort of incentive for other players who might be getting close to a large number of kills to start working on them as well. But again, congrats to you, Aeflic. Couldn't happen to a nicer guy. But enough about me and what's been going on. What's in store for this week's show? Well, first I have some sad news regarding everyone's new favorite community manager. After that, I'm going to talk about a short apology from Nick, followed by the most recent PTS update that should be moving to live shortly after this week's show is released, if not the same day. And then finally, I want to talk about LevelCap's most recent video about Planetside 2. All that, plus I've got some listener email this week. So strap in as we hot drop into another episode of the Instant Action Podcast. So first up, like I said, Roxxly announced that she is leaving Daybreak Games this past week. And I'm going to read her post verbatim just so you can hear directly from her mouth. So she wrote, "Hey everyone, it's time for me to set off on my next adventure. After 3 long years, today is my last day at Daybreak Games. Working on Planetside 2 has been a wonderful experience, and the passionate players here, salty vets included, have made me absolutely love being the game's community manager. Locking Paul's mohawk to Vanu colors, raising over $3,250 for Extra Life in a single stream, and publishing lore for the game have been just a few of my favorite moments from the last few years. And with those moments in mind, I'd like to thank you all for making me feel like I've gotten to be a part of this community, not just an employee doing a job. Believe me when I say that the Planetside 2 team is incredibly talented and the game has bright days ahead of it. I'm really looking forward to seeing what they continue to accomplish in the future, and will be cheering them on 100%. For those that might be curious about where I'm headed, I'm sticking around in the gaming industry. If you want to keep in touch and see what I get up to, I exist pretty much everywhere on the internet as @Roxxly. Keep on rolling, Araxians. I'll be watching from the sidelines. 07." So there you have it. It's kind of sad news. I think everybody was... I think in general, the majority of the community has a very favorable view of Roxxly. And Roxxly, if you're listening to this week's show, I'm sorry that you're leaving. I'm sorry that I'm not going to be able to get to meet you in person in a couple weeks when I'm down in the San Diego area. But still, I wish you all the best in everything that you do. You're breaking into an exciting, industry. It has its ups and downs. Everybody knows that. Community manager stuff sounds really interesting, and I think you had a lot of fun with it on Planetside 2, and obviously you did more than just Planetside 2 at Daybreak Games. You were the community manager for everything, so everybody needs to realize that she was stretched all over the place, not just focusing on Planetside 2. Someone did ask her what she's doing, what's going to be going on, and she did elaborate a little more. She said that her current plan is to take a little bit of time off to play way too many video games and probably still lurk this subreddit. Then I'll be starting up at another studio later this month. She doesn't want to say where, though, until she's actually there. So it does look like she's probably got a couple weeks off. And then at the end of May, she'll be starting up at a new job at a new game studio, and I'll be curious where it is. I'm sure a lot of you are curious where she's going to be starting. But again, I know the majority of the community, Roxxly, wish you all the best and good luck in everything that you do in the future, and we'll miss you. Moving on to topic number 2 this week was a short apology from Nick for missing this week's patch window. So we heard a lot last week that we would be getting a hotfix to the game at some point during the week, and that never materialized. And there's a lot of bugs with the game right now. Most of them aren't game-breaking, in my opinion. They just are kind of annoying more than anything. Sure, I got into a locked point where I couldn't throw ammo packs no matter what I did, and when I finally switched classes and threw something else down, because that's usually the trick if you can't throw an ammo pack, is you switch to medic and you place the shield bubble or something like that, and then go back to the engineer and you can drop your ammo packs again. Well, that didn't work for me no matter what I did. Just annoying things like that. Not being able to use beacons right now is probably the most annoying thing in game, and something that I hope is fixed sooner rather than later. But again, Nick threw out a little apology explaining what's been going on, and he wrote, "In an effort to maintain transparency with the community, I wanted to give an update on our next hotfix. We have been working all week to prep another hotfix for Planetside 2. We are processing thousands of bug reports as they come in on a daily basis, and they have been incredibly helpful to track down new issues. We also are getting the message loud and clear on the well-known issues that are causing the most pain. Other than continued improvements to general stability and other graphics issues such as full screen modes and particle effects, our focus has been on fixing issues with our new spawn system, which includes beacons, malfunctioning priorities, and more. Unfortunately, many of those fixes came in just a little too late this week for proper testing, and combined with other issues we are currently resolving with our build pipeline, it would be incredibly risky for us to put out this update to live before the weekend. We are incredibly excited to see so many players returning to the game and want to make the experience as positive as possible. To that end, we are also starting to perform hardware upgrades to the PS2 servers that clearly need some more muscles. Our first round will be the Europe servers, Miller and Cobalt. Every day we see such amazing fights on both of these servers, and we expect to see improved performance during high concurrency times with this new hardware. We are excited to put more resources to work on new player tutorials, fixing and updating the outfit system, and returning to Osher, but not until we have stabilized the game. I apologize that we missed our window for deploying this latest hotfix to live before the weekend. The patch we are hoping to deploy live on Monday morning is deployed to test server right now, so please see patch notes if you want to get a preview of what's coming soon. And please put those fixes and changes to the test yourself. Thank you for your patience and continued support. Nick Silva, producer, Planetside 2. So there is his little note, and the interesting thing we get out of this is obviously they're aware of all the bugs that everybody's experiencing every day in this game. That doesn't mean they don't want you to continue to using the /bug command in game when you have a bug, so that they can, be made aware of it again or whatnot. The more times a bug report comes in for the same bug, the higher priority I would imagine it's going to get. I mean, that's how it works within my company. So wouldn't be surprised if it's the same how it works here. But again, the more interesting take out of this is the new server, the hardware upgrades that they're going to be doing to the servers. Very interesting that they're going to be doing Miller and Cobalt. I know there's a lot of complaints about the Miller and Cobalt hamster dying every now and then. I see Reddit blow up with posts about that all the time. So good that they're going to start there. I would imagine after that, they're going to take a look at Connery, because that one seems to be the next that a lot of people complain about, and probably means they'll be doing Emerald last out of all of them. So I'm curious to see and hear how all my friends on Miller and Cobalt, how their experience in game is going to be after these hardware upgrades go in. Now, again, they didn't say when they're going to be doing these, but that's something clearly that's going to be coming sooner rather than later. And when I dug more into Nick's post on this, he did say again that we don't expect these to come in over the weekend. They're not there in the weekend. It's going to be the next downtime. And other people were asking, what are you upgrading to? And he said that it's higher spec server blades, and that the existing hardware was running many services on the same hosts, and now we'll have dedicated nodes running specific high CPU load services. So basically, we should be seeing a performance boost on these two servers to begin with. And again, hopefully we'll see them on all servers moving down the line. So ultimately, we're going to have to wait a little longer to get some of this other stuff in. So, let's be patient, and we'll just continue to play the game. But with that, let's move on to our third topic this week. But before that, let's break in with Romus and this week's Veteran's Voice. Take it away.
In honor of our new robot friends, we're going to continue our series on nanite systems weaponry, i.e. guns and equipment that are usable by everybody, especially them kooky robots. This week, we're going to take a look at the halberd. Halberd sits on top of a vehicle and shoots a big honkin' rocket. This thing is very effective over long range at picking off enemy armor, and, if you know how to aim, infantry. I find that it behaves much like a large sniper rifle with a jet out the back. It's way cooler. Using this thing on a vehicle, though, means that you have to be a crack shot. If you miss, you are effed. That's a lot of extra work that went down the toilet. Something not as forgiving as, say, a Vulcan, which is more DACA than you can handle, you other two factions of weirdos. It's important to know when using the halberd that you need to only expose yourself long enough to get a shot off. So if you're in a harasser, Easiest way is to take a shot and run away. Once you're reloaded, pop back out, take another shot. It's just like being a sniper. You can also use it to harass from very, very far away. Up in the open seabed of Indar is a great place for this. Also some of the big fields of Amerish, or Esamir in its entirety. The halberd will shine. And like I said, it does kill infantry, but only one at a time. So don't expect to go wading into groups of them and finishing them off like you can with the Fury. Or, even better, the TR's Marauder. I can't really give you much of an opinion on the other two factions' weapons, mostly because I don't dabble in voodoo and repurposed mining equipment. Weapons are weapons and tools are tools. And the rest of you folks, ya blue and purple weirdos, you're tools. That's right, the kid gloves are off. Now that we have more backup, I'm gonna start punching up a bit more. That's it for this week. Remember, the only difference between a scrub lord and a Superman is learning from your mistakes. Back to you, Derringer. Yeah, I did watch that video. Yeah, kazoo music is my hero. And that Valkyrie is wicked awesome. I could watch that all day.
Good info, Romus. I also watched the Valkyrie Kazoo video and laughed my ass off. Next up, if I can make a request, I'd love you to go through all the NS weapons for the NSOs so I know what to use when I'm playing my NSO character. All right. Topic number 3 this week is that May 10th PTS update that Nick mentioned in his little apology letter. And again, all this stuff is on PTS. When you're listening to this week's show, if you're listening to it late on Monday, a lot of this stuff most likely will have already made it to live unless there were some last-minute bugs that needed to be ironed out. But it seems like what Nick says that they're going to be deploying this to live on Monday, again, when the majority of you guys are listening to this week's show. Unless, of course, you're a Patreon subscriber, and then you do get the show early. You get it on Sundays. So besides that, what is in this May 10th PTS update? So it's the majority of it is miscellaneous changes, fixes, and additions, as well as a big some big changes to the spawn system as well. So starting with those miscellaneous changes, they do have a speculative fix in for the invisible body vehicles that make you run really fast. I know when I was playing with B-Way, Dr. Bad Day was having issues with that, and I pointed this out to him. Particle effects should no longer flicker during player movement. Tank mines should now trigger when they're actually run over. I know this is a big one for me. My tank mines weren't working at all, and it kind of sucked. Event vehicle terminals will no longer appear at the warp gates on Indar. Auto squads now only joins players into open squads instead of forming fresh squads when no open squad exists. And this is to help prevent players from churning in and out of orphan squads or forming squads without leaders intentionally opening them. Also, the auto squad will no longer try to join a squad when you're already in a squad. It will also no longer try to find squads in VR training zones. The VSync settings now retain your selections in the options menu and also user options.ini. They fixed an issue where vehicles wouldn't interpret shadows correctly. They fixed the faction-specific interference profile banners no longer appearing for players of the incorrect faction. Speaking of players of the incorrect faction, let's talk about NSO a little bit. First, those characters no longer unlock loadout slot tabs at battle ranks 5 and 15. Instead, they're unlocked by default, and of course, they weren't even unlocking at all. I never got my unlocks at 5 and 15, so it'll be good to have all those again. NSO characters on the scoreboard should show the correct faction they're playing for. NSO characters will now receive alert and event rewards of the team they were on, which let me tell you how freaking annoying that is. To play an entire alert, win that alert, and get no reward out of it, or to get the losing team's reward or something like that. Absolutely annoying. NSO characters will now be able to pull routers from a routing spire. That's kind of an annoying one as well. And now, if you're playing an NSO character and you're in a G40 Ranger, it will now fire projectiles. It wasn't firing them before. Moving away from the NSO characters, though, you can now purchase the Pelter rocket pods on the Galaxy again. The Exceptional 2 Directive Tengu P, the Platinum variant, now requires the correct metals at each tier. If you weren't aware of this one, as long as you were working on the final tier of the Tengu, of the Exceptional 2 Directive, you only required 10 kills each level for the Tengu, not the full 1,160. So sorry if you missed out on that one. They fixed an issue where the Yellow Jacket mining laser couldn't be used as a siege weapon, so you'll be able to use that again. Also, now, while opening the map while interacting with a warp gate terminal will no longer overlap UI elements. And to explain this one better, because this one's annoying the shit out of me, that's the one where if you're looking at your map and then you zoom out, it puts a different map overlay over the map and you can't see anything anymore. That one's pretty annoying, and I'm tired of that one. Also, the loadout screen should no longer create a ghostly overlay over an active game window. They removed the maximum pressure ghost ability effect from the tab screen's buff section. They fixed some missing aerial anomaly particle effects, and they fixed some missing pillager particle effects on low graphics as well. That's all of them. Next, for the spawn system, it's got some other changes, so they've made many changes to it, which they're hoping will just work better. They are going to continue to refine the system as more issues crop up through live play itself. So the miscellaneous changes that we're going to be seeing in coming to live shortly is, and these are all on test right now, is you can no longer spawn into disabled regions. However, you can now squad deploy even if your squad leader is dead, and that's a real big one. Squad deploy now uses these leaders' location to determine spawn points instead of the squad's overall location. They also remove the 5-second respawn timer discount on quick deploy. Spawn points on cooldown are now rendered invisible until they become available, which is probably a better thing, which means right now, if you're trying to respawn, you'll see every spawn point on the map is going to pop up. Now they're not even going to show those further out ones, and they're just going to actually appear at later times when they're actually available. Now you can deploy into squad vehicles at any distance, however, and a big one is you can now deploy into a squad vehicles that are in enemy territory. Now, this has been an ongoing one for a long time where you could only spawn into a friendly squad vehicle if it was in friendly territory. And this happened to Galaxy pilots constantly, how they'd be skirting friendly and enemy territory, and if they dip over into enemy and not realizing it, no one could spawn there, and everybody'd be yelling at the pilot. That's gone now, and I'll be happy when that comes to live. You can also now deploy into Sunderer's invalid regions at any distance. They've also disabled the reinforcements needed for the time being. They're going to bring it back when it doesn't conflict with the current spawn system, which means they're going to need to rework that. Also, and this is a really big change, interesting change, satellite spawn points inside biolabs will now act as spawn points and not just teleporters, though you can still use the teleporters at satellite bases to reach the biolab spawn room. So basically, what this means is if you've captured a satellite base of a biolab, the biolabs where you would teleport in, that teleporter room is now going to be a spawn point for you in the biolab, which is actually pretty cool. So there's going to be that's a huge change to biolabs. I don't even know what else to say. And Rel did in one of the posts out here, he did also say that they are considering making the satellite a capture control point instead of a base control point, basically working similar to the way they do on 3-point amp stations. So yeah, I'm really excited for this change. I'm not gonna lie. I love biolab fights, so any way to get me into them faster, especially if I'm the attacker and not the defender, this is going to be an interesting change. And I wonder if it'll stay that way or if it might be a little too OP for attackers rather than defenders. But now let's talk about the priority 1 spawns in this update. Some changes to priority 1 spawns is you can now spawn into enemy adjacent regions with less than 24 players. It used to be less than 12 players. You can also now spawn into capturable regions with less than 24 players. And what the devs hope here is that this allows players to spawn into offensive regions across the map to spin up new fights faster. There is one known issue with priority 1 spawns, though, is that your last spawn location should be a spawn point regardless of which regions it's in, but currently is only available as priority 1 if it's the same region you died in. Note that they're going to remedy that in a future update. Now let's talk about priority 2 spawns. The baseline respawn timer for these was increased by 5 seconds, and now spawn beacons have now been placed into this priority 2 spawn. What this means, though, is that players will be able to spawn onto any spawn beacon and are only subjected to a 15-second cooldown. And this is a major buff for spawn beacons and somewhat devalues squad spawnable vehicles, so they're going to continue to tune this if necessary. Priority 2 spawns are also now including the Elysium spawn tube and the router for purposes of spawn times. And they also fixed an issue that was preventing priority 2 spawn locations from following the rules. Granted, they don't clarify what following the rules means, but they have fixed that. So there's your hotfix on the PTS right now all together. Interesting to see where the you're able to move around the map faster on those priority 1 spawns, especially the enemy regions with less than 24 players. That's an interesting change. Beacons being a priority 2 spawn is an interesting change. Again, it puts them on the 15-second cooldown, and I don't know what they're going to do to squad spawnable vehicles, but we'll certainly see regarding it. But again, that is your PTS, and again, this stuff should be reaching us on Monday, fingers crossed. But with that, let's move on to our 4th and final topic this week. And that last topic is regarding a new YouTube video put out by LevelCap where he revisits Planetside 2. Now, back in the day, LevelCap was really big into Planetside 2. I know he did the Ultimate Empire Showdown. I think I still have a LevelCap decal on my Connery Vanu character of all things. So it was good to see him do a video, and he basically was saying, Planetside 2, they upgraded their system to DirectX 11. They also brought out the NSO characters, the robot characters, which I noticed in his video he was not playing any of those, which means he probably didn't become a member, which I'm surprised he didn't do that, just for 1 month so that he could check out the NSO characters and play around with them. At least it didn't look like he was playing an NSO character. But again, it was good for him to do a video to bring more eyes onto Planetside 2. And the bigger thing regarding his video, more than just the fact that he did something about Planetside 2, and it's something that Spec Guy posted on Reddit saying, here's his review. It was okay, but better than what he wrote were the comments in the YouTube video. And it was just comment after comment after comment about people saying how much fun they have playing Planetside 2, how great Planetside 2 was, or I haven't played Planetside 2 in forever. I saw this video, I jumped back into it, I'm having a blast again. It's just things like that, and that was just such a good thing to see. And I hope the devs saw it as well and kind of reveled in the fact that quite a few people were on that video making comments about it and saying, it's a game I love playing, and my loading times were dropped, and graphics alone renewed my interest in this game. Or if you haven't played this game before, you should check it out. It has a loyal fan base. Why not download it? It's free. Comments like that are why I love these communities for Planetside 2, and all of you out there who will jump onto something like this and say awesome stuff like that. And it's good to see, like I said, just having people like LevelCap throw a video out there like this. And I hope he'll continue to play Planetside more than just this one time to do one video. I hope that he actually sees that you've got so many people commenting on it, how much fun they have playing the game, how much they like the game, that maybe he'll spend a little more time playing the game itself. I'll include a link to his video. You guys can listen to it and get his thoughts on it and everything. More than anything, it's maybe not the best video for an existing player, but maybe somebody who hasn't played in a while and listens to this podcast just to keep up with it. If you want to get another opinion on somebody who jumped back in to play it for a little while and how they feel, again, he kind of just lays it out there as what it is. You know, they upgraded DirectX 11. They have the NS operatives now. And, you know, other than that, he doesn't really sing too many praises of Planetside 2. But at least he's putting it in front of people who may not realize that Planetside 2 is still a game that people are out there playing. But again, I hope he does more than just this. But with that, let's finish up this week's show by moving on to housekeeping.
Housekeeping. Housekeeping.
Come back later, please.
Housekeeping.
Not now.
Housekeeping.
Go away.
I coming anyway?
So first up, I got an email from DasWolf9, and he wrote, "Heyo, I was an old timer who moved away from Planetside 2 a few years ago. One day, YouTube recommended me one of your podcasts. Thanks to you, I've gotten back into the groove of this masterpiece. Thanks for showing me what I was missing." So first up, DasWolf9, thank you for watching me on YouTube, even to begin with. I love that. And I'm glad that I rekindled that spark for Planetside 2. Like I said, in just this last topic, I'm hoping that LevelCap's most recent video does a lot of the same things that perhaps you listening to me did and get you back into the game. I will say that I've seen a lot more people than normal playing Planetside 2, especially after this most recent game update with the DirectX 11 update. Granted, a lot of times I feel like I might be feeding on some newer players who, you know, aren't the best at this game, but I'm hoping that all of them are enjoying it and continue playing it. And maybe there's a lot more people like you who have not played in a while and are now coming back to it and realizing that it's still a good game. There's still plenty of fights to be had during prime time and other times. So hopefully everybody comes back and does stuff like that. I also got an email this week from Zastrom, and Zastrom, I'm going to give away your secret, sorry. He was the one a while back with the Agent Nutbox calling Agent Nibbles. Agent Nibbles was Roxxly. He was Agent Nutbox. If you guys followed him on Twitter, you saw that he had sent them cupcakes, which was pretty damn awesome of him to do. And he's a little sad that Roxxly's going to be leaving them, just like all the rest of us. Zastrom, you'll be okay. Don't worry. Maybe you can send her cupcakes at her new job as well. Anyways, that's going to be it for this week's show. So how can you get in touch with me or the show itself? Well, always, your first stop should be my website, www.instantactionpodcast.com. You can also email me, like DasWolf9 and Zastrom both did, at instantactionshow@gmail.com. You can call me and leave me a voicemail at 347-4VM-4PS2. Those digits are 347-486-4772. And as always, please follow the show on Twitter at InstActPodcast. But in closing, if you've enjoyed the show, please leave me a review on your podcast listening avenue of choice, whether it's iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, or anywhere else. Also, feel free to tell your friends and outfit mates about the show. And finally, thanks for listening, and keep spamming that join combat, formerly known as Instant Action button. Derringer out.
We fucking made it!